Hello, this is Judy Baston, and we are on our last week of class. And the assignment for this week is to create a presentation of your paper. You can create the presentation with PowerPoint. That's mainly what students use, but you can also use Google Slides or Prezi if you want to get crazy with it. But if you're familiar with PowerPoint, that's great. If you're not, it's pretty easy to use to get started with, and there are a lot of good tutorials online. I do have in my links, and the first link is a infographic on how to create a good slide design, good presentation using some basics. It covers a lot. It's pretty detailed infographic of what you should do and not do. So I'd like you to review that and try to follow those principles. What I kind of want to say here is really the best way. I actually just I was at a conference last week and I attended a session on how to TED your talk, which is TED your presentation. And one of the things they said was that on your slide you should have really big ideas and images. So your text should be big, your images should be big, but simple. You shouldn't have a lot of text on there. It should be simple, big text saying your main idea and an image that reinforces it. They kind of made the point of, if you have a lot of text up there, what's the point of you being there? They can just read it and go. So the main transfer of your information about your topic is going to be through, normally when you're presenting, it's through speaking. Because this is online, that's going to be a little bit different. So you will be having to use the main part of your text of your presentation will be in the notes. And I'm going to, right now I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint that I've done. So this is a PowerPoint that I've used before for class. I didn't use it this time. But so I have some words here. I didn't have an image yet. I haven't added an image. So there's just very little words, kind of just the basics right there. I didn't put a lot of not lengthy paragraphs, not lengthy sentences. You could maybe put a short quote in it. That's fine. So the main part would be here in your notes, down here. Now, if you can't find your notes, you click on them right here, and it'll bring up your notes. And so this is where you'll add what you would, your speech, what you would normally say if you're looking at your audience and saying, this is what this is about. Then the other requirement is that you will need to actually use audio. So instead of me just reading these, or other students, you will be doing peer review, other students just reading your notes, you will have to add audio, which is over here. You can click on audio and you hit record audio. And the red button here is starts the recording. So you will have to have a microphone. And you will just start reading what you have in your notes. And then when you're done, you hit stop, which will be blue, and then you can hit play to listen to it again. There'll be a little, like a sound kind of speaker thing come up. Make sure that that's kind of, normally if you kind of have it setting off to the side, everyone will see that and they know you can click on that to listen. Or you could do it where it automatically starts in your PowerPoint as they click through. I don't know. I kind of like to prefer clicking it on my own so that I can kind of first see what's going on in the slide and then listen to it. But that's up to you. So this sort of leads to thinking about going back to the slides and thinking about the big text, but the big images. If you kind of noticed, and I'm going to kind of lead off here, like I am going to round back. I'm going to talk and then round back into images. But using images ethically leads back to last week, where, if you remember, Taylor had a topic. His was on a faculty person that sold students information, and then the student was able to sue and win money from that professor. While that is plagiarism, it's really, he was able to win that suit because of copyright. So copyright, everyone, you, you've written a paper, you're doing this presentation, outside of class, you own the copyright to that work, meaning that someone else, if they wanted to use it, like if I wanted to use it in another class as an example, I would have to ask you permission to use it, because you own it. And that's true of all such works, whether it's a website, a paper, or an image. You have to use that. If you want to use that image, you need to ask permission, because you don't own it. There's certain rights you have as a copyright owner, and one of those is reproductions, derivatives. So you own how that work is used. As being in education, we have a little leeway where, for an educational purpose, you can go ahead and use an image. You're not trying to sell it. You're not trying to make money. Outside, but of course outside of education institution, then that's a little different. So I have provided, and you are welcome to use these links, to image collections that are either they're copyright free, they're in public domain, or the owner has set a license that allows you to use them freely, as long as you do an attribution, which is related to plagiarism. It's the same thing of acknowledging who the work comes from, which is what you would do to do not plagiarize, of course. The two links are Photos for Class, which kind of does a nice little roundup of different places, does a kind of search engine of different websites that have these types of photos. And then Pixabay is one I use all the time. There's a new one I keep seeing called Unsplash that I need to check out. I haven't had a chance to check it, so I haven't put it on for you to look at, but you might check that one out too. But I love Pixabay. You have Shutterfly images that are, you have to ask permission for, but then the rest are all free after that. So there's some good images that you can plan out. Now, that being said, of course, you still have to do an attribution. And so the next link is how to cite an image, and how to do an in-text citation. It'll show that how to do that too. So when you are, if you're using something like a quote or something pretty significant from someone else's work, you will do an in-text citation for the text, then also for the image. And then at the end, you'll have a reference list. Now, I've seen this both ways, where students put all the images and text together in a reference list. I've seen it where they separate it out. You can do either one. I don't think one is better than the other. It does make it a little easier to know if the images to separate the two, but if you put them all together, that's fine too. One thing I would like to see is in your notes, putting in-text citations. And normally the notes are usually for you and you wouldn't use in-text citations, but because I'm reading them and looking at them, putting in-text citations in the notes so it leads me back to original sources, I would like to see that. Those are sort of the links that I have available for you. If you have any questions, please let me know. I really enjoy usually this is sort of the fun part, because you get to use a little creativity with your backgrounds and what you put in your images. But of course, you always have to support everything with evidence. So that's where your research comes in again. Now, and also I wanted to point out, if you use your outline, that will really sort of guide you with your presentation. So you already kind of have the presentation worked out, unless you change significantly from your outline, then you'll have to change that a little bit, but you can use your outline as your guiding factor in creating this presentation. Like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone does. You will be doing a peer review in your discussion, so you'll have a rough draft. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a rough draft of what you're starting with. It would be good to have some audio with it. Not saying you necessarily have to have it on every page, but some audio so that we can kind of review how you're speaking and so forth. And then you'll use, the feedback I give you and the feedback other students give you and work on your final draft. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.